Now, as you prepare to relax very deeply, you can just close those eyes right now and begin to direct your attention inside so that you begin to develop an awareness of both your sensory experience here and now, the position of that body, the sound of these words, the rate of that breathing, the inhale, the exhale, the sensation of whatever's supporting that body, the little dots of color people sometimes see when they close their eyes, a growing sense of comfort, a sense of those shoulders sinking, those facial muscles softening, and at the same time, an awareness of an internal reality from your own imagination. Because each night when you sleep and dream, your imagination, your dreaming brain, takes you into vivid internal realities, so that while a part of you is resting comfortably in bed at night, breathing deeply, allowing that body to restore and heal, there's another part of you that can be quite literally flying, soaring through the clouds, over magnificent landscapes, noticing how fields look like little green and brown squares way down there, over oceans, and how sunlight glints off that vast expanse of blue. And as that physical body begins to relax very, very deeply now, a real letting go, a sense of rest that can flow all throughout that body, from the top of that head to the tips of those toes, almost as if the air around that body is relaxing, giving that immune system, that digestive system, and every cell a chance to rest and heal, and your unconscious ability to rest fully and completely enter a state of mind where the conscious thoughts begin to slow right down and drift away to do just that. And where do thoughts go when they fade away? No need to try, or to try not to stop yourself from not trying, because your instinctive mind can listen at a much deeper level than you can consciously know. That's it. And when you consider the reality of coming to rest beside a lake and just gaze at the beauty of that water, noticing what time of day it is, what season, a gently breeze against the face, looking way out across that lake, perhaps to trees on the other side, and how that lake reflects the sky, with the knowledge that when the weather gets stormy, the surface of the water becomes windswept and choppy. The reflections on the surface become distorted, and all the images are fragmented, and that lake cannot properly reflect reality clearly until that storm blows itself out, as all storms must inevitably do. And then the waves on the lake begin to calm right down, to reduce in size into little ripples, then expand out to the edges of the lake, as step by step, that lake can just become perfectly still and be like a mirror to the world, reflecting the whole picture, everything in proper perspective. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to think of a specific time when you felt that someone really didn't treat you as you should be treated. A specific time when perhaps your trust was abused. And as that comes to mind, you might notice some of those old unpleasant feelings accompanying it for the last time. And you can just set that time aside for a moment and remember an old story about a wise man walking through a village with his disciples one afternoon, when suddenly a rabble began to hurl insults at him, terrible insults about every aspect of his person. And the wise man remained perfectly calm and simply ignored the insults. And finally, one of the disciples could bear it no longer, and he said, "Master, why do you not defend yourself with anger against these bitter insults?" And the wise man turned to the disciple and said, "I can only spend what is in my purse." And as you notice how still that lake has become once again, you can recognize that the old memory and those old feelings can solidify into a glowing crystal ball, a ball that can float right out of you to some distance away, gently hovering over the lake. And in the center of that crystal ball, you might notice an image of your younger self, just before they went through that particular past experience. And in a moment, you're going to watch as that old memory flickers past in that ball, watching the younger you in the ball and anyone else in that old situation move in an incredible fast forward until after the whole event was over, when things had calmed down once again, relatively speaking. And at the count of 3, just watching that old memory in the ball on 1 and 2 and 3, and just watching it whiz by in an incredible fast forward, images flickering past, flashing through that memory until after things had calmed down again. And what you are doing here is processing that memory through a new part of the brain. And just as when you were a child, there was probably an occasion when you felt angry at another child who wouldn't give you a turn playing with a toy when it really was your turn, or didn't give you the sweets that they owed you. How an injustice that happened way, way back then is now something you didn't need to try to remember to forget. You naturally and instinctively just forget to remember it because it's no longer important. And while you retained what you learned and grew wiser for the experience, the old feelings themselves just faded away into your past. And in a minute, you can just look out at that crystal ball over the lake, and this time, watch that old memory in an incredible rewind from after that less than pleasant time to before it ever happened, seeing yourself and everybody in the memory whiz backwards, an incredible rewind on 1 and 2 and 3, and just watching that now, images flickering backwards, sounds backwards, back and back, all the way back until before it ever happened. That's it. And as the last of the emotional charge, which that memory used to have, just fades right away, you can notice that crystal ball begin to move away from you, further and further, accelerating into the distance as those old, out-of-date feelings just fade right away with it. That's it. And as it shoots off into the distance and over the horizon, you can just get a sense of real stillness and calm, like the surface of that water, perfectly still. And in that stillness, you can notice a new detachment from that old event, a new detachment and calmness when you think about it, and even the person or people involved, a sense that much of who they are is a culmination of their life experience. And while they did was probably not the right thing to do, they were making that decision from their own stage of development based on the history of their life. And this time next year, your ability to look back and remember listening to this and notice how long ago that seemed might be of great interest to you. Because if you float out into the future, right out over the next 12 months, and look back from 1 year from now at how you began to feel calmer and calmer, more and more centered and relaxed, who noticed the changes in you, how those old feelings just faded away, the increased lightness and laughter you feel, how many parts of your life have benefited as a result, the internal energy you've freed up, and you can just get a sense of how your unconscious can absorb this thoroughly as a future plan. That's it. And then in your own time, you can prepare to become wide awake, feeling alert, refreshed, restored, and rested. Just noticing the position of your arms and legs, reorienting to the room, and then whenever you're ready, just opening your eyes and coming all the way back now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake.